I suppose I have a fairly unique perspective as Minister for Public Expenditure in a country like Ireland. Ireland is probably the first country in the Eurozone that went into a banking crisis, one that has had effects right across Europe since. So the experience of Ireland, I suppose, has been replicated in many European countries in the last 4 or 5 years. And as the crisis deepened and spread, it was clear that every national government has made new priorities, trying to determine what important issues should be funded within their own exchequer. And obviously, new priorities are focused on the domestic economy, on the maintenance of jobs, on healthcare, education, and so on at home. So in that context, it is very difficult to maintain the focus, the commitments made to the United Nations at the turn of the millennium to have a significant increase in development aid and in solidarity with developing countries. So one of the, I suppose, most difficult things to do is to maintain public support for expenditure on overseas aid when there is a squeeze on domestic budgets. When people see belt tightening in relation to the domestic health services or in education at home, you need to have a loud and clear voice to explain why we should continue to fund education or health services in the developed world. And that's really the role of an organisation such as Awepa. I've always said Awepa has two functions. It has an important role in obviously contacting and working with parliamentarians and main actors in developing countries, particularly in Africa. But it also has an important job of work to do at home, that is in the developed countries, to maintain communication with our own population and maintain a support base to ensure that there's always popular support for the maintenance of overseas aid and the overseas aid budget. As I said, that can be challenging. I think it is important that it's done on a cross-party basis so that you can not have a party political taint to the support for development aid, but that it is understood to be a national endeavour that has merit in and of itself. So the role of Awepa, continuing its work in developing countries, bedding down democratic institutions, combating corruption, is extremely important. And the ancillary role of the home front, if you like, of ensuring that there is political awareness of how money is spent, ensuring that money is spent wisely in the development aid sector, because obviously as money becomes more scarce, there is ever greater scrutiny and a demand for value for money. So the oversight role is also important. And I know that in the Irish situation, we had some difficulties, for example, with our development aid budget in Uganda. And the role of parliamentarians in reassuring people that any problems can be overcome rather than have a knee-jerk reaction simply to withdraw funding is extremely important. So I'm very proud of my own association over many years with Awepa. I know the organisation still is very active at political level in my own parliament, and on an annual basis before the budgetary process begins, all parties who are active in Awepa come together to make a joint presentation to ensure that when money is being divvied out on the domestic front for education or health or social protection and so on, that the development aid budget is there among the demands and is argued for trenchantly and well.